I want to talk a little bit about this issue that has been bothering me, Boogie. We've talked about it a little bit over the course of this season, but I've reached my boiling point. I can't deal with this anymore because now that we're at the midway point, little past it, we are really starting to see which players are potentially going to be affected by the new rule the NBA has in place this year that you have to play at least 65 games to be considered for postseason awards. I do not understand how this is supposed to change the amount of games that guys sit out. Because yes, I think making All-NBA is an honor, and in some cases it affects contracts, which we'll talk about in a minute. But in general, players are not going to put what they consider their health in jeopardy, no matter what the incentive is in the moment. So I don't know how much this rule is actually impacting the behavior that they're concerned about and the way that they thought it would. And all it is doing to me is eliminating worthy candidates from a place of honor that they should be in. And I can give you some names here. If we look at the All-NBA teams from last year, Boogie, you had 5 of the guys, big names, who did not play 65 games and would not have made it. So if I look in here, I'm looking at Giannis, Steph, LeBron, Jimmy Butler, and Damian Lillard. All would have been eliminated from postseason awards if this rule had been in place. This does not make sense to me. And it impacts guys' money also, because if you don't make All-NBA at a certain time, you're not eligible for a Supermax. And Boogie, you certainly, with the mechanics of when you were going to get the Supermax from the Kings and sort of how it was working, that is a big difference in money. You've got 2 guys this year with Bam Adebayo and De'Aaron Fox are on the list who, if they do not make All-NBA, and they both have had injuries so far this season, they each will be looking at a difference in what they can be offered of $93 million.
Sheesh.
That is crazy that this rule could impact that. I don't know. I'm very upset to feel my pain.
I mean, Rachel, I totally agree, and I can take it, a step even further. I mean, obviously, the money is a huge issue, and it can affect a player's pockets, but on top of that, it could affect the player's legacy. These guys could be missing out on all NBA, selections, which, like I said, adds to their legend, adds to their legacy. When these guys' careers are over, it could be 2-3 seasons where they missed out on this because of something as simple as, they played 64 games instead of 65. But I don't think it's a realistic thing. And this is going off topic a little bit, but at the end of the day, I blame the analytics. I think analytics are literally fucking the game up. And this is an example why. When I came into the league, guys didn't miss games. You didn't have to worry about load management. You didn't have to worry about, a guy taking 2-3 games off just because, hey, I don't feel like playing this week. I don't think guys are as conditioned as they were in the early 2010s when I came in. Even something as simple as training camp. When I came in the training camp, we were having 2-a-days for the first week. Training camp lasted 2 weeks. The whole first week, it was 2-a-days. The first part of practice, you learned the system, you learned the defenses. You came back the second half of the day, you scrimmaged. And it was like that for the entire first week. So we're now at this point in the league where, they're preaching this load management and reserving, a guy, these players' bodies and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, I think it's also crippling these players. It's hurting these players, and it's also hurting the competitive nature of the game. So, I don't want to offend anybody, but we gotta remove the nerves from the game because, like I said, it's fucking up the game. It literally is fucking up the game. So
I would argue you're talking about 2 separate things. I will say the NBA agrees with you on load management now, though.
They go hand in hand.
On load management in that you're going to get me out. Tell me. I don't agree.
Rachel,
Tell me.
It's sick, man. I hate where it's going because obviously it kind of seems like it's off topic, but these things literally go hand in hand. And it's no reason that, Joel Embiid, who I believe is the front runner to win MVP this year, if he misses another 10 games, you're sitting here saying that this guy isn't eligible to win MVP. And that's That's
Yeah.
mind blowing to me. As incredible of a season he's had this year, that literally makes no sense. So the reason I say it's the analytics, the reason I say we need to remove the nerves, because the analytics is the reason we're at this point where guys are missing games.
Well, look, analytics is just a big category, right? There's some analytics that tell you, hey, you should shoot more from the right side because guys aren't guarding you there. That to me is sort of smart ways to improve coaching. But I do get what you're saying about load management. The NBA agrees with you. They just put out a report saying it doesn't actually impact players' health in the way that it was initially thought to be. Now, that is a convenient report to be putting out at this time when they are trying to get more players back into the games. But however you want to look at that, that is what they just put out. And your point about honor, I think, is a huge thing in terms of how guys are looked back on, because we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. The All-Star game is a popularity contest. That is literally what it is. So it is not a marker of how good a player you were. It certainly is an indicator if you're, say, an 8-time All-Star, 10-time All-Star. Huge thing about you wouldn't have gotten to that point without being exceptional at this game of basketball. But it is not the same as All-NBA, which is a much more sort of, based on your season, judged thing of, hey, how did you actually do in these games as opposed to how many people like you? And I just think that taking that away will skew our perception of some of these players when we look back at them compared to others. And certainly the MVP part that you point out with Joel, I mean, what a bad sort of chunk of luck that this was changed during his prime of his prime, because if he ends up being a 2-time MVP, that puts him in a different category in the game as a 1-time MVP. And that would completely shift just because he hasn't played 2 or 3 extra games. I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like you're messing with a lot of different things you don't need to be messing with to convince players to do something that I don't think there is enough outward incentive for them to do. I think that guys are going to play as much as they feel like they should play, and that teams enable this behavior, and that trying to correct what the owners are and aren't doing to protect themselves by putting in this rule makes no sense. You own the team. You want your guys to play more. Tell the coach, they all got to play more. Tell the players, if you're not playing, I'm going to reduce your contract. I don't need to protect the owners from themselves here, where they don't want to actually sort of take responsibility for any of this. And they each run their teams in a way where they will rest guys to get the advantage, that sort of thing, than to have to come in at the end and say, oh, well, you guys can't, sort of deal with your own franchises and your own rules. So we're going to have to make this external rule to try to prompt guys to play. This is dumb. I don't like it. And I hope that this is the last year it happens.
It's fucking the game up. Absolutely.
I really do not like this rule. So again, we're at the midpoint of the season, a little after we start to see the guys it affects. And I will be on this, Boogie, as we go forward.